the Gouda is pretty good.
Delicious.
It's home, but had too many days before me.
Yeah, it's hard for keeping it refrigerated.
Both of you brought stuff.
It's kind of fun.
Very historic looking. Right directly across the river on the left, topped by what looks like a Gothic cathedral. And that is because the top of I'm going to talk mostly on the way out on buildings on your left. And on the way, the London Guarantee Building was designed as the headquarters for the London Guarantee Insurance Company, and they insured shipping. And they made their headquarters here in Chicago because when they designed this building, Chicago was the busiest port in our country, in the United States. Not New York, not Boston. It's new life. It's a wonderful concept. The tan building you see on your left there with the big temple on the top and the smaller temples at that cornice line, that mid-cornice line, was the Jewelers Building designed by Yaver and Dinkelberg, 1926. So we're staying in the 20s with that building. When they designed this building, they designed it in a bag. I want to talk for a few minutes about what was happening in the 1920s when this is after. That's contextual postmodernism. That building belongs here. It doesn't belong in another city. It's referencing its place. We've got a couple people that like salmon. This is a salmon-colored brick sailor who saw the Chicago River as an amenity long before it really was. So he provides docking privileges for all the people who live here at the base of the building. In on the Chicago River, these people decide they'll take the risk to do that. I'll talk more about the river in just a little. As a salesman, that people in rural America were often cheated. You know, people sold them stuff and it didn't work. It wasn't what they wanted. And they had no choice. That whole area with the barges in the river full of concrete. And Lake Michigan is where Chicagoans did and still do get our drinking water. Now, most of the time, this toxic myth, the one that you see in front of you that is open, it's open all the time, but it closes once a year, was a railroad bridge. There's no railroad there now, but we still open and close it once a year. This bridge, Kinsey Street Bridge, are from 1907. They're landmarked. They still work. And they remind me once again, the bridges, this one in particular, reminds me of that industrial that industrial feel of Chicago at the turn. First of all, it's stepped back and looks like it's built on a tabletop, and the tabletop has what look like fans in it. And that is because our commuter trains come in right along here and have to fit underneath there. Finished in 2018. And I want you to notice a couple things about this building. One, you can see yourself in the base if you want to wave, take a selfie. Hello, there we are. But also that this enormous 54-story building sits on this very skinny gray stem. This gray stem is what it all sits on. And I'm going to talk more about that from when we can see the facade or face of this building, making it possible for everybody on every floor to get views up and down the river. Then they could have held up this side of the building with any kind of column they wanted, but they choose these. This building was finished 1 week after the stock market crash of 1929, leading into the Great Depression. The Civic Opera struggled to survive. The building itself. But where you see this mural was simply a concrete wall that covered the mechanicals. A new developer purchased this building and hired a muralist to do a mural base to top of the Chicago River. The confluence is at the top, and where you see that red dot, you are here. These catalogs. Sears Roebuck was here. Spiegel, the Rothschilds, J.C. Penney, they all were here in Chicago. They put out people in the cities like Chicago and keeping them from moving out to the suburbs. So he gives you this nice marina, two levels of retail to support the people who live above. It's got that big barrel light on the top that says at night especially, look at me, look at me, look at me, don't look at my very famous friend across the street. I want you to look at me. I love having the juxtaposition of modern, mid-century Miesian type modern off of those steel trusses above. Very, it's a big engineering feat that he did, and it was really pretty clever. The very first building that had to contend, 1929, the same year as the building on the right, but boy, do they look different. When they designed this building, they had to build it on the western edge of the lot. Come off at an angle, and where you see what looks kind of like vents on this building, that's where those rolled pieces of steel are located. And then the building, a lot of it just kind of sits on top of those pieces of steel. Now, this building is so tall, it still wants to wave in the breeze because it's got such a skinny base. We just passed Lake Street. This building for about $13 million to Joseph P. Kennedy. Joseph P. Kennedy was the father of John F. Kennedy, who becomes the president of the United States. So they bought it for a song, and then they sold it in the 1914 is the year. Look at the beautiful work he does with terracotta and brick at the top, and then he puts that wonderful clock tower sticking out of the top. And carbon building in that deco style. Entertained and keep you in the city. With the very last building that Mies van der Rohe himself designed for Skidmore, Owings, and Merrill. 2009 is the year. Has anyone seen the Burj Khalifa up close and personal? Anybody? Couple people?
It looks just like that.
He designs this before he designs the Burj Tower in Saudi Arabia, which will be, when it's completed, taller than the Burj Khalifa. So I always refer to Adrian Smith as the Prince of the Precipice. He designs these impossibly tall towers. Now, the Trump Tower is the second tallest building in Chicago after the Willis or Sears Tower that I took the Year Award that year. You notice that the balconies, the concrete balconies, are way Lohan. Now, Dirk Lohan is the grandson of Mies van der Rohe. And he was an architect. He's now and looks almost like one of those deco towers. Now there's also a new building going up right here, designed by Skidmore, Owings and Merrill. David Childs. Very unique position if you want, or just look at the skyline, whatever you want to do. Point cutoff, and then another frustum point to point, and then base to base, all the way up the building. Every 11 stories is basically a frustum. Less sun and heat gain into a smaller space, and a lighter color where the shoulder is. I love sharing the city of Chicago with you.
Still filming? You're good. And you're kind of the star. You got to be in the picture. will be normal, but like when you move, it'll look like you're tripping. Like, oh, movie makers use something like this to communicate disorientation.
And mine is 25.
We're never came here at night. I feel like we've gotten like some pretty good daytime views.
Yeah. We also have a free drink.
Oh, look at the rooftop pool. Fun. That'd be kind of scary. This is definitely not something I would have ever paid to do. 5 years ago.
Everybody else does, but this space is still important to us culturally and with our religion.
We're just one tribe here amongst a lot of tribes here in this country.
Yeah, I mean, I agree.
No, you're fine.